For some reason, the regular flow of glacial meltwater down the Mississippi River had stopped. At about the same time, near the edge of the ice sheet, there was a surge of fresh water that began flowing to the east, draining into the Atlantic Ocean. As the salt levels, the deep currents of dense salt water that release heat into the atmosphere and regulate parts of North America's climate, suspected cosmic impact.
This was effectively a very large sledgehammer on the climate system of the Earth.
Returning to the impact zone, the final piece of their theory falls into place. If the impact had hit near the edge of the ice sheet, could it have caused the collapse and melting of the ice and touched off the change in climate?
I can imagine a scenario where you slammed into the ice sheet, broke it up. This would be a terribly unlucky shot. The shock wave would go through, induce calving off the edge of the ice sheet. But it has to happen at the right spot to be able to induce that type of consequence.
With one perfect hit into the ice, their theory, if true, could solve all the mysteries surrounding the 13,000-year-old turning point. But just as the team felt their evidence was lining up, they got some bad news. The test results on the 4 mammoth tusks from the Canadian fossil dealer have come back. While the embedded metallic shrapnel might be extraterrestrial, the results were inconclusive. The metals could have lodged into the tusks long after the mammoths had died. They also discovered that the tusks dated to around 35,000 years ago. So those mammoths couldn't have been killed by the suspected 13,000-year impact. Which brings up another interesting question. If these were cosmic bullets and they all hit the tusks at the same time, one scientist thinks there could be a connection. His big idea is that the Earth might be the victim of a repeating pattern of cosmic destruction. At the source of his suspicion lies the most powerful entity in the universe. Possibility that these life-altering events might be more common than we would like to think.
We may be in an epoch where these events are happening more frequently. There's no question that we are at the whim of cosmic events.
Rather than an isolated event, nuclear chemist Dr. Richard Firestone thinks the suspected impact that may have wiped out the mammoths of North America was the most recent blow in a series of cosmic encounters. This idea came out of the news that the mammoth tusks, thought to be embedded with ET shrapnel, are much older than the 13,000-year-old impact.
It was initially very frustrating to find a result that didn't agree with what you expected, and it became very clear that this was a separate event that occurred 30 to 35,000 years ago. How many other events were there that we really don't know much about?
Then Firestone noticed that both the 13,000-year event and the 35,000-year event had an unusual symmetry with another geological mystery. Spaceborne particles, known as cosmic rays, are constantly entering our atmosphere and irradiating the Earth. This influx is measurable in the form of radioactive carbon, or radiocarbon. Looking at the data, Firestone saw that there were unexplained radiocarbon spikes at about the same time of the 2 suspected impacts. Then he zeroed in on an even more dramatic spike at about 45,000 years ago, and the pattern began to make sense. The impact might have been preceded by a much bigger kind of cosmic blast, a supernova.
Supernova could have the dominant influence on the history of the Earth. If Earth were as near to the supernova explosion as we are to the sun, we'd be incinerated.
Firestone's hunch is that around 45,000 years ago, a star in its final death throes imploded over 100 light years away. The exposed side of the Earth was bathed in a lethal dose of radiation.
A lot of people would have died of radiation poisoning, and it would have created a lot of instant death, similar to a Hiroshima type event.
After the initial blast, the supernova's shock wave would ripple outward, disrupting the equilibrium in the solar system.
A supernova can rearrange the objects in our solar system, and when it encounters something like a comet, it gives it a nudge. It gets pushed a little bit, and that little bit could mean the difference between it hitting us and not hitting us.
Firestone thinks the supernova shockwave may have pushed asteroids or comets off their stable orbits. Thousands of years later, these cosmic projectiles could have struck the Earth. The possibility that a distant supernova could send waves of destruction hurtling to Earth is a chilling thought. But at this point, it is purely hypothetical. There is little data to support it. For everyone else on the investigative team, the focus is entirely on the suspected 13,000-year-old impact. Years of hard science are riding on their controversial new theory.
The strength of the case is the fact that we're finding multiple impact tracers in the various places where we have looked. Clearly, it was an event that was big enough to affect a very large continent.
Now that they have put all their evidence on the table, it's up to other scientists to try and tear it apart.
It's worth a fair hearing. Also, I think most people are going to be initially skeptical of it because it's a new idea. I think it needs to be pressed. Can it be replicated by other people? Can they find the same type of evidence? Those are the kind of questions we're all waiting for the answers about.
To be confident in impact, you need to meet several different levels of proof. And right now, it certainly smells like one, but it's not a slam dunk yet. Nature throws us curveballs all the time. So I think that's why it's the imperative is to find the evidence that is unequivocal.
Even if the evidence for a major impact passes the test, the more difficult task will be proving the connection between the cosmic killer and the extinction of the mammoths.
Clearly, this is a very provocative idea. When you talk about impact events actually having an effect on how life evolves on our planet, it's going to be contentious. But, you know, to make an observation like this and not report it to the community, I think is kind of, why are you in the business?
Some of the evidence is very tantalizing, but the overkill theory is a circumstantial case. Climate change theory is a circumstantial case. Are we going to end up with a third set of circumstantial evidence, or are we going to end up with one that is the clincher?
Of course, it could be that all these factors played a decisive role in the extinction. Recent finds of mammoth skeletons on a few islands off Alaska and Siberia suggest that the last of these remarkable animals may have held out until around 4,000 years ago. The radiocarbon dating of mammoth bones is imprecise, but most experts agree. Many of the mammoth herds and other large animals in North America bizarrely disappeared around the time of the suspected impact and its aftermath. The mystery isn't about the last standing mammoth. It is identifying the one deciding factor that sealed their fate.
I'm convinced that there was an extraterrestrial impact based on the data. I continue to think about the implications, the effect that this had on the animals, the effect it had on Clovis, the effect it had on climate. If you ask me if there had not been an extraterrestrial event, the mammoths almost certainly would have survived longer. They may well have been still living in North America in the present day.
The discovery wouldn't be the first life-altering cosmic impact. The difference is that this one is uncomfortably close to home. Humans would have been there to experience it. Around the time it would have hit, all signs of the Clovis people disappeared.
This is the kind of thing that no one had expected to be true. And yet there's so few things that we worry about today that could literally wipe out the species. This is one of those things.
If the theory holds up, it will have implications far beyond the story of the mammoths.
Life on Earth has been driven by these types of catastrophes. These enormous stresses is what makes us turn on a dime and go a different direction. Mammals would not have emerged so prominently after the dinosaur killing impact if we hadn't eliminated our competition. Could life change again in response to an impact? Could humans change in response to an impact? Absolutely, yes. This is going to happen.
The Earth seems destined for another violent cosmic encounter, and it might come sooner than we once imagined. How far in the future is anyone's guess?